Good evening, 12s, and welcome to Seahawks 360 podcast. I'm Candace Higgins,
Now I'm Tino Ganasius.
and we are back to discuss more preseason football. We are closer and closer and closer to actual NFL football. I'm dying to get to it, but in the meantime, the Seahawks have done a pretty good job of tiding us over, in my opinion. The Seahawks have a dominant victory against the Kansas City Chiefs at home. And Tino, I gotta be honest, I am really, really trying hard to talk myself and remind myself that this is just a preseason, that it's not real, that these games don't count. But man, it's hard not to buy into the hype a little bit when you see the Seahawks go up against what is considered to be a top tier organization. I mean, no question about it. Whether you like the Chiefs or you don't, Andy Reid, the ship he runs over there, matters a lot. And I understand that they might have decided to throw this game because they got a weird international schedule coming up that they're preparing for. So maybe they didn't care about this game at all. I got to keep that in mind. But man, was that a fun game to watch? You got to see Sam Darnold start. The run game was, I mean, we ran all over the Raiders. This is what I would name the last one. And I'm like, I don't even know what to call this one. We just running rampant on the Chiefs. I don't know, man. It seemed like they got even better in all the areas that we already saw. Man, what are you thinking? How are you feeling right now?
268 yards on the ground,
268 yards.
48 carries for 268, 5.6 yard average, 2 touchdowns. I'm with you. It's hard to not be excited about this team, right? The way that they're playing. The defense hasn't even really needed to play well in order for this team to look good. They will. That is the one part of this team that I am confident in. What I will say is, if we see this running game, so even some form or semblance of this running game, weeks 1 and 2, the way it's looked these first 2 weeks in preseason, then I will be excited for 2025, right? It's the same actors in the play, right? So it does with the except Zabel, but they look better, right? Bradford has been written up everywhere as to how he's lost, 5 to 7 pounds, something like that. He's looked a lot better. People worried about him in this scheme because of the movement. He's looked really good. I think he was the highest performing Seahawk according to PFF last week.
Yep.
Of course, that comes with caveats, but still, that says something because he was not the highest performing player in the past, right?
He's been the lowest. So I
Right.
do think you could take some meaning
There's
from it.
something there, right?
Yeah.
Uh, Sundell looks really good. That's your boy. You've been pumping him up from the beginning. I did not know the connection between Sundell and Zabel.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that connecting with your fellow linemen, specifically the ones you play next to, is very, very important, right? Having that relationship, that synergy, knowing what the guy next to you is going to do all the time is important. I could see Sundell being the starting center all year. And if you get, NFL average play from Sundell at center, I think that's a huge win. I have tons more takeaways, but for me, this team, the success of this team this year is going to rise and fall with the performance of this offensive line. We said it coming into the season. We said it at the end of last season. What we've seen so far has been really great. You're right. The Chiefs, I think, will have a top 5, top 10 defense. We didn't see a lot of those players. We didn't see Chris Jones, who's their best defensive player. But you're still doing it against NFL talent. And you're doing it without Charles Cross right now as well, who by most accounts is currently your best offensive lineman. So I'm tempering my excitement like you. I think my focus is almost exclusively on this offensive line because this team goes nowhere without him. What I will say, another admission here, and this is one game, but I did like the way Darnold looked in this offense. I did think that Darnold, in play action, rolling out in his mobility has been something that he's always been praised for. His ability to get loose with quickness and to be able to hit guys on the run. He looked really good. He looked like a starting NFL quarterback. There's no quarterback debate from me. Milroe looked a little bit rougher around the edges. in this game.
Mhm.
And I think they're in good hands with Darnold, at least this year. Is he a Super Bowl winning quarterback? I don't think so, but I liked how he looked. I'm starting to warm up to this version of this team, primarily because this running game looks so incredible right now. We can
Yeah.
get deeper into the running game in a minute, but this running game with this offensive line looks very, very, very good.
Yeah, I'm trying. I'm trying to talk myself into what can stop this team. So I don't know if you go on social media and see the like, especially in the NBA, they're like, who's stopping these five?
Yeah.
I'm trying to like answer that question ahead of time in my own head
Right.
because the way they look in these preseason games, I'm like, I'm looking at the offensive line like create these massive holes that I can run through, and I'm
Right.
like, who's stopping these five? And anyway, I'm trying to think about situations. I'm like, well, they don't have that explosive threat. Is it something that teams key in on? But I just love how innovative they've been. It's not predictable, the run game.
Right.
Like they are taking different angles. You don't know who's gonna where the crease is gonna be. You don't know. Uh, Really, they've done a good job of disguising it to where it's kind of that Sean McVay thing. For once, we're finally seeing on the Seahawks team that Sean McVay effect, where you're like, is it run? Is it pass? I liked a lot of what Jake Bobo said. Uh, when he was talking about how they run those stem routes off top the first 10 yards, like, or the first 10 steps, I think that's it. He said it looks the same. So it's just been really cool for me while we work to get Tino back here. It's just been really cool for me to see just how diverse the run game has been. We've seen the run game under the Pete Carroll era where it's been like run, 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 and we felt like the defense knew it was coming. Now, granted, there is no game planning in preseason. Andy Reid obviously did put a lot of effort into trying to give different looks uh, or anything. Like I don't think any of the Chiefs were really just trying super hard. They were seemed to be in more evaluation mode than they were in like you know game planning or anything like that. So I give that caveat, but this is the foundation. To me, what I get most excited about and what I think will translate is the very foundation of what we're seeing. And I think how that translate will could actually work. What we're seeing is things that work, things that we know work. Run game that travels. What else travels? Defense. And we know that this team is expected to have a good defense. And what's crazy is the defense has been getting their tails kicked. Like not just in practice, but also like kind of in this game. Like the defense was, in my opinion, the lesser of the two. Like the offense was just so dominant looking that the defense looked kind of like, eh, like I kind of expected a little bit more, and I don't know if it's just because of how dominant that offense was, or just how high our expectations are for that defense. I found myself a little underwhelmed by the defensive line,
Mhm.
uh, but I don't know if I should just if my takeaway is just that the defense isn't as good as I thought it was going to be, or if my takeaway should be that this offense is actually finding ways to be explosive without those explosive qualities that we normally expect when we're thinking about a team. Like we don't normally think about a run game being explosive, and so that's why we harbor on things like DK Metcalf being on and not having Geno Smith. But Clint Kubiak has proven that there's more than one way to be explosive. And if you're scheming things to be explosive, you're scheming JSN to be wide open with no one even close to him. Was anybody even on that side of the field when he caught the ball? I mean, the definition of scheme wide open, that kind of thing is explosive when you can get guys out in space and they can be shifty. And it really has just opened my mind to what this offense could be. And I've
It's
been pretty high on it.
I think that it's some of the stuff that Shanahan and McDonald are able to do specifically with the running game is scheme in a way that you don't have to have top talent, you know, in order to create explosive plays. I think you're right with that. With regards to the defense, I think there's a big difference, right, between the elite talent at each position and the backup, specifically on this team. You go from Murphy and Williams, to Morris and Bohanna or Peely or something like that. That's a huge difference. It's an all pro and a potential all pro to backups. You go from, I guess, on the edge, Mafe and Hall and Lawrence, eventually, those are like real potential Pro Bowl type players, right? The guys who are their backups are going to get cut. Um, Jones to anyone at linebacker really is a huge downgrade. The secondary I would expect to show up a little more up, at this point, but I think they're working Eamon Warrior. DeAnthony Bell is new. I expect the defense to be steady, and I expect the individual talent to show their explosiveness in the regular season. I'm not worried about the defense, and I think Coach McDonald cares too much about that defense to let it fall off at all. I'm still, despite the first 2 weeks, the offense is still what worries me. But I do want to ask you this, and you may have covered it when my computer decided to crash.
Did we
Is
lose you
that
again, Tino?
was that? Can you hear me? You
Did
can't
we
hear
lose
me?
you again? I think we might have.
No, I hope not.
Yeah,
I'm here.
I think we
I
might have. So I would say, in my opinion, I'm not gonna say I'm not. That would be an exaggeration. Are you back?
you can't hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. It
Okay,
froze. You froze for a minute.
got it. I was going to ask you, um, given what we've seen from this outside zone scheme, on how the running back has to really plant their foot eventually and cut up field once they see that crease. Is Charbonnet better than K9 in this scheme? And does that make K9 expendable with this team, specifically because he hasn't really gotten on the field yet?
No. No and no. I know a lot of people have been talking about that. I probably am actually in the minority in that opinion.
Mhm.
Um, my take is this: anyone could run through those holes. I think K9 gets touchdowns on them. We've seen K9 run into how many offensive lines, but I
Right,
mean, dude's just running into like
right,
hippos. Like looks like he's running. I mean, and so yeah, K9 gets a lot of grief for dancing in the backfield. He
right,
gets a lot of grief for dancing in the backfield because he's trying to make a way out of no way.
right,
And he's not been able to trust his offensive lineman, and he's not been able to trust his reads, and so he's having to, now I think it could be argued that should he be developing that chemistry with the offensive line? Would I like him doing that? Yes.
right,
But if anything about what we've seen in this run game translates, and I believe it will, because if you go back and look at John Benton's history as an offensive line coach, he's gotten the most out of some dudes who were like nobodies
right,
before. And so he's got a track record of doing that. If we can depend on that at least some of this is real, I think K9 will be able to take it to a different level. And I think this team needs it as much this offense in particular actually needs one, as much continuity as it can get,
hmm,
B, as much uh, explosiveness as it can get, because for all of the things I just talked about, how explosive they looked, this was without a game plan from the Chiefs, right? There was no anybody trying to key in on your weaknesses, right? This is just dudes rolling out on the field and seeing what
right,
happens.
right,
I definitely think you can game plan for this type of, um, game plan, and we'll see how Kubiak adjusts to that. We don't know, but I just think the more athleticism you can get on that field, whether it's for 8 games or less, who knows? And
right.
I think you can feel confident about Charbonnet should he need to step up. But I think you give yourself as much of a chance as you can. Just have your best guys out there. Because at this point, you're not going to get a ton of value. If they were going to trade K9, they should have done it at the draft,
You get
right?
Yeah, you'd get a 5 or a 4, something
Yeah.
like that if you traded him. So I guess one of the things I've seen that take, that's part of where I came at this from. I watched K9 obviously when he was at Michigan State. I think he has more scheme versatility than people are giving him credit for,
Mhm.
because of all the dancing in the backfield. But you're right, when you dance when you don't have holes, right, and you dance when you can cut the way he can. What I will say is, there's a part of me. Well, first of all, I hope they keep 4 running backs, and I know there's not a high likelihood of that, but I think all 4 running backs, Holani, Martinez, Charbonnet, and K9, are talented, and you don't want to lose that talent. Um, but what I was going to propose is, I do think Charbonnet is a better scheme fit. That doesn't mean he's the better player. Doesn't mean that he would produce more in this as a starter necessarily. I do think he is a bigger back. He is more of a one cut type back. He hits the hole harder, right?
Mhm.
We've seen that. We've seen him look really good so far.
Yep.
Maybe Sharp. Maybe they flip, not flip roles, but maybe Charbonnet becomes your first and second down type back, right? With K9 getting many more carries than your typical third down back might, but you see Charbonnet take more of the heavy lifting. We've also seen K9 get hurt a ton. And so maybe there needs to be a bigger job share, and that first and second down type look needs to be the bigger back. And K9 is in there in more run and pass type situations, or more pass situations. The other thing is, I think Holani as an all around back who can pick up the blitz and catch the ball out of the backfield is a little lighter on his feet, could play that K9 role if K9 went down, the K9 role I was describing. I also think Martinez, to me, I know we saw him catch the ball out of the backfield, and he's a better pass catcher than someone as big as he typically is as a running back. But to me, he fits that first and second down bell cow type role, right? That I would see Charbonnet in. So I would keep all four, and I would have a very, the fall off from Charbonnet to Martinez, I don't think would be much. I think Martinez is incredibly talented. I said that from the beginning when they drafted him. I think K9 to Holani would be a bigger drop off, but it wouldn't be like picking somebody up off the street. So I wonder if the scheme pushes a different job share eventually, especially if K9 hesitates at all in hitting the hole. That's not something that scheme can deal with. That scheme is meant to create a crease at some point, and if you don't hit that crease, you're not going anywhere. So again, I'm not saying that. I think Charbonnet's a better fit. I think K9's the better talent. I think there's room for both of them on this team, but I would not surprise me if their roles are redefined slightly heading into the season.
That's certainly a good point. And if they decide that that's the best thing, I'll have no qualms about it. What I think is more realistic is that you see a really good 1-2 combination, like we used to see from I guess when the Browns used to have is it the Browns? Yeah, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. One
I thought you
two.
were going to say when the Chiefs had Christian Okoye and Barry Word, but then I'm showing my age right there.
No, sorry, sorry, no. I meant something more recent. I'm in something more recent now. No, I just feel like we talk about that all the time with Chris Carson and Rashad Penny, but they were both just too injury prone for that to be a reality. We'll see. Yet to be seen if K9 is just as injury prone, so it's pointless anyway.
Right,
But I think if you're Clint Kubiak and you plan on running the ball as much as they plan on running the ball, I think you could value seeing, like, aiming for a balance between them and still having both of them have their respective styles that Kubiak clearly knows how to take advantage of. I
right,
think with both of them, so I think that's more likely. I think there's a lot of, I think ultimately it'll be a lot of much to do about the K9 Zach Charbonnet debate. I think they'll both be very productive. I think they'll
mm-hmm.
both have good seasons,
Mm-hmm.
pending K9's health. I think they're bubble wrapping K9 because the idea of losing him in a preseason, any kind of situation, training camp or whatever,
Right,
it's probably too much to deal with. And from all accounts, when he did get out there on the field, he looked ready to go.
right,
So if that's the case, bubble wrap him. It is a contract year. He's got a lot to play for. See if he can stay healthy during the regular season. If
right.
you kind of load managed him, so to speak, I'm not mad at their approach. I get why.
Yes,
You what's the saying? Out of mind, out of sight. Out of sound, out of
out of
sight, out
sight.
of mind.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's pretty much I think the effect that
Yeah,
K9's getting. People just forget. You know what I mean?
you don't
Like,
see him out there. You don't see him out
yeah,
there, and you see Charbonnet blowing up. You're going to say,
mhm,
"Oh, like Charbonnet is the guy." I
right,
will. I will say though, because their styles are so different. I will say that I am interested to see how K9 looks in this scheme. I am
yeah.
interested to see, if he looks explosive, if he does hit that hole as hard as you want him to, all those sorts of things. Um, it's just fun to be excited about running back again. I wasn't excited at. It's my favorite position on the football field. I wasn't excited when, last year going into the year with those two. It wasn't like, I think it was because we didn't see any run blocking. I'll say too. So two things. One is I will be sad if Martinez isn't kept. because I do think that I think he's a talent. The other thing I was gonna say though is they've run off that left side a lot, and that left tackle hasn't been Charles Cross. It's been Jones, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have to ask, like, is Gray Zabel that good this quickly? Are we talking about are we talking about an all pro soon? If because he's looked and you made some really great points last podcast about how people are picking apart some of the little things that Zabel does and how good he is with all the technical stuff. But those holes are big on that left side. Big. Those are holes we're not used to seeing as Seahawks fans. At least you got to go back to like Hutchinson and Walter Jones type years to see holes like that. So I don't know. Again, 2 games in the preseason. We've all been here before. Whatever your favorite team is shown out in the preseason. You get excited, and the team just is a tire fire for the rest of the year. But so far so good. Do you think Jacardier Wright makes the practice squad?
Yeah, I think he gets practice squad. In my opinion, if it's me, I'm cutting Martinez in favor of what I see from these wide receivers, just because you
No.
can't keep anybody. Can't keep anybody. I like Derek Young a lot. I think I like Jake Bobo a lot. I don't
Bobo's
think they're
making the
getting
team.
rid of. Hmm,
Bobo's making. I could see him keeping 6.
but they can't keep 6 if they keep 4
Yeah,
running
you
back.
can't. You figure it out somewhere else
Yeah, I don't think the numbers add up. I
because you're
think
not.
we do need to do another final. I think it's gonna be tough, and I don't think Martinez is show. I think he showed you the least out of all of. If you're looking at what all the wide receivers who have played, minus MVS, what they've shown you in preseason, and then you look at all of the running back, combining them, Martinez is probably showing you the least.
It's
MVS
showing
below
us
is
the
the only
least.
person below
Shown
him.
shown us the least, right? In the game. That doesn't mean he hasn't shown it in practice. I also think we got to ask the question: what kind of team is this? What are they trying to do? Right? What's the goal of this offense? The goal of this offense is to run the ball. So
Yeah,
if it's going to come down to running back versus wide receiver, I think Young's special teams contribution is huge, right? Huge.
certainly.
I I would see more of a situation where the other thing is they may keep 4 tight ends, right? If Russell is the backup fullback, they may keep 3 tight ends plus Russell. So you're right. It is going to have to go somewhere. There's going to be some give. Um, like I said before, I would love for even Worry to learn the off-ball linebacker position just as a more as a break in case of emergency, play that position in pass coverage sort of thing. Are you going to keep O'Connell over Martinez when you're a running team?
I hope.
Right? Are you going to keep some of the other ones? They might keep 5 safeties. You keeping Jarek Reed instead of him
So.
because you're
I
keeping
don't
Dan.
know.
I don't know. I look at this. What are they going to do at nose tackle? Hankins is gone probably because of his injury. You've got Bohanna. You've got Peely. You need 2 nose tackles, right?
Yeah,
Reed can play it in a pinch, but is that what you want?
yeah, and Bohanna and P. have had really great camps in
They
this league.
have.
Personal,
And they're
personal
those
favorite
huge
of Bohanna.
body nose tackles that McDonald needs,
Yeah,
right?
would agree. I just think I think you can sneak Martinez on the practice squad too. I think you can get away with it because he fell to the 7th round. Everybody was so surprised that
When
he
he
fell to
got,
the 7th round.
but he didn't fall for any particular reason. He ran what, a 4.51 at like 225 pounds.
But he didn't get drafted to the 7th round
He's
yet.
a running
I,
back.
I just think when everybody's making cuts, I think you can get away with sneaking a Martinez back,
He's getting
especially because the running back
snatched.
position,
He's getting snatched up. I'm telling you, he's getting snatched up.
maybe, but I'm willing to take that risk.
And I'm gonna
Maybe,
be hot over like a O'Connell or like a
maybe.
who else? Like over a Brady Russell.
I think you're going off more of what he's done in college than what he's done in camp.
I
Even
know, and
I
he
haven't
was
heard.
sick
Nobody's
in
talked
college.
about. There's been one
Mm.
practice that people really talked about Damian Martinez and the impact they saw on him.
You know,
He flashed one
sure, but
practice.
I don't. But I'm not. I don't care as much about what people are saying. What they saw in practice. I know what I saw watching him in college. I know what
It's
I
college.
saw in this last game. And it takes. The thing is too is I try not to get caught up in like what I see that game. It's what do you see this player as a year from now, right? What do you see this player as 2 years from now? What do you see this player as in 6 months? I see I see a starting running back. That's what I see.
I think that's projection.
A little bit, for sure. But that's what they're paid to do is project.
But you've got guys right now ready to go that can give you more than projection.
But that doesn't matter though, right? Like you don't expect that player to play that much anyways. And so it's if Holani, as much as I like Holani and I vouched for him last season, his ceiling isn't very high, right? He's a player who can step in now and be a balanced running back. Martinez is you could have K9 leave. That's the other thing. You need to be planning for 26. K9 could leave, and Martinez could be your starting running back. Or you could have a running back competition between him and Charbonnet going into
I
20.
haven't seen anything in the NFL yet to say that that's the case.
We
He's
barely
struggling
seen
in
it.
pass protection. He's getting blown off the ball in that regard. He's not even really being doing a good job at special teams. So he's still got a ways to go and towards
He's
being
not
a contributor
he's
in
not a
that.
special teams player though.
I mean, I get it, but I'm just saying, like, if that's the case, and you're looking at him and George Halani, I mean, you're gonna go Halani. So I'm not saying that I love the decision. If we got a perfect world, yeah, you keep Martinez. I just think in a world where you can only it's only 53 dudes, and who can you most likely get away with getting back on your practice squad is always going to be a running back.
You know who I cut? I cut MVS.
I get that argument too. I can't say you're wrong,
I cut
but I
MVS
don't know that they will.
because MVS not playing special teams.
No,
I
he's not.
think I think Derek Young and Jake Bobo are more valuable than MVS
Yes,
is,
I
right?
would
And
agree.
if Horton is healthy and you think Horton can play that role, I keep those five and I would cut MVS is what I would do. But that wouldn't surprise me either, especially given how this team is not trying to play five wide receivers, right? This team is not trying to, they're trying to run the ball and they're trying to play with tight ends. And it wouldn't surprise me. And that's predicated on Horton's development and health. But that wouldn't surprise me. You mean to tell me that Derek Young couldn't come in and run some go routes and stretch the defense a little bit? Like MVS is supposed to? He could.
Depends on who
Horton
the
certainly could.
depends
I
on who the
just
quarterback.
I just think this team's identity is changing quickly. I also think
I
that
agree.
they're willing to do some things unconventionally, right? And unconventional would be keeping a player of Martinez's upside over somebody else at a different position. I wouldn't keep Brady Russell. I don't think Brady Russell provides much other than versatility.
Special
You
teams.
can, you
He's our ace on special teams. He's like the Nick Ballore of special teams.
man, not every team needs a white dude that runs like a maniac down the field that
There's
plays
teams right things need to.
some sort of like ambiguous position. He don't play linebacker. He don't play fullback. Just like Russell doesn't play tight end. It doesn't play fullback. Yes, I get what you're saying, but you can't tell me that Drake Thomas can't do that.
Yeah, I think that I don't think Brady from everything. I mean, when you get people talking about universally how good your special teams is and how big of a leader you are in that regard, then yeah, I do think it's fair to say that you can't
Not when
replace
they gave
that
up
with
that
any
big
other
return
job.
last game, right after you talking about Harbaugh. Remember?
I was going to say our special teams struggles enough. I don't really want to get rid of the little leadership that they have. They
Yeah,
struggle enough. All right, we
I
don't
think
need to
that's
take away good. I say this to your point. I think the strongest argument is to get rid of MVS. The reason I won't go as far to say that I wouldn't do that personally is because I worry about week 8 when teams just stack the box and somebody's got to be able to catch that ball. Somebody's got to be able to run the deep route. Sam Darnold's got to prove that he can throw it over the top if challenged. And I think you would like to have somebody in week 8 that's not a rookie to fill that position. So because of where I see us midseason, I, I don't think they'll really need him now. So and that's a tough call. Is that worth it? Is it valuable enough? I think it could be the difference between a playoff berth and not. But I also can
it's
see
not a
why
playoff team. It's not a playoff team.
this is a playoff team,
It's
dude.
not a playoff team.
This is a playoff team.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry to be a wet blanket. This is not a playoff team.
Okay, but you said that earlier, and you've been wrong almost about everything so
I
far.
am. No, you're right. You're right. Except for this, you're right.
This
It's
is
not
a playoff team,
not a
man.
playoff
I
team.
mean, you're scared of the who are you scared of in this division that you're just shaking in the boots on?
Our offensive
The
line is
backlord round the world, Matt
the Seahawks.
Stafford.
The Seahawks offensive line and the Seahawks quarterback Sam Darnold. That's what I'm scared of.
Yeah, no. I think we've seen enough to show that they won't be a complete
In
liability.
the first
Who
two,
they beat?
it's the first two preseason games. I'm trying to be excited, right? I'm trying to get behind it, but we got to remind ourselves that it's preseason.
I know they're not going to go out there and dominate like that. I don't expect that performance. I'm just saying I think we've seen enough to say they're not going to be a liability. Because
Offensive line,
when's the last offensive line you've performance like this you've seen in the preseason?
and these are the same dudes, though. How is it
But
different?
the coaching is different. And how long have we been complaining about coaching? About
True.
5, 6 years,
Well, we
I would
brought
bet.
in we had a hack last year as the
We did.
offensive line coach, so yeah, I get that.
He was
And
like a terrorist on offense. But but I mean, even
uh,
Shane Waldron, people were complaining about, and so yes, I hear you. I don't think we're seeing this offensive line with the same dudes go from worst in the league to all pros, right? I'm not saying that. I'm saying they cannot be a liability, which means can they be like not
average,
not not even average? Can they be above like bottom 10? I think
above
so.
terrible.
I think so. Can they not be terrible? Yes. I think that gets this team way farther than you give it
Okay,
credit.
but there's a you also have a quarterback that is going to vacillate somewhere between slightly below average and slightly above average.
I don't think that's necessarily true either.
Man, we're gonna make
I think
we
we've
we gonna
seen
make
it.
some wagers before this season starts because
We should. I
I
agree.
I think Darnold looked like a professional. Like I said, he looked like a professional in this game. He looked good. 4 for 4, 34 yards, was efficient, rolled out, looked great. But you're not going against McDuffie. You're not going against their linebacker out of Missouri from a couple years ago. You're not
I,
going against Chris Jones, right? It's
well, I actually heard they played quite a few of their starters that first drive, like 8 out of 11.
right. And the three that I named were the best three.
Yeah, for sure.
But I don't know. I need to see it in the regular season. I've been burned too many times by preseason football, by spring training baseball, exhibition basketball. Like beginning of the season, you get pumped. You see this dude play well or this dude play poorly, and then he shows up and he's great, right? I just think preseason is preseason. So is it encouraging? Yes. Do I want to see this line play well? Yes. I don't think this is a playoff team. I just don't. I think the
Oh,
lack
you had them. Didn't you have them at like what 8, 9, 9, and 8, something like that
guy
going
either
in?
had them at 8 and 9 or 7 and 10.
I just
I
no.
think you had them
You
as
didn't
like
have seven
you
to
had
ten.
them at 16 and 1.
No, I had them as
12 and
maybe I
5,
think
I
it was
think. Wasn't it
12.
11 and 6?
No, I think it was 12-5.
I hope so. As a Hawks fan, I sincerely hope so. It's
Here's the thing. Our big concern was how bad the offense would be.
mhm.
Like we thought the floor could potentially fall out. And I think this scheme won't let it. I think this scheme does what I thought it did before, and that's give it a floor. And with a defense that we expect to be a top 5 defense,
Mhm.
I don't think you need much more than that. Now, I'm not saying they're going to Super Bowl, all right? I'm not saying that. But I'm saying, can they get a playoff berth? Can they make the playoffs with a we'll see how Matt Stafford looks with his back issues going on. We'll see what that looks like in the
Hey, did you
coming
see
of that.
Stetson Bennett though? Stetson Bennett was out there dealing this week.
I bet he was. Let's just say that won't have me
Like,
shaking in my boots.
he like dealing what?
Yeah, yeah, I bet he was doing something. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. He looked all right. They're playing him like that though, because they're gonna need a backup. I think they're thinking they're gonna need better options, so they're playing him like he's a backup because I don't think they can trust Jimmy G to stay healthy either. So
no.
that almost gives me more encouragement that they're playing Stetson Bennett the way they're playing
Yeah,
Stetson
but they're
Bennett.
going to be in a similar position, right? Where their defense is top notch,
Is
and
it?
their offense is going to have to try to survive, right? That's a very
No,
similar position.
No, that defensive line is a very good one. The defensive performances last year were not up to par.
Where was that defense ranked last year?
Not that
I thought they were better
the
than that.
defensive line and Jared Burst and his breakthrough, they had a lot of young, good defensive linemen.
But
But that
they're no.
secondary was very shaky.
The secondary was the linebackers played well too. I just what I'm saying is that I don't. I guess the difference is you're saying. Are you saying they will make the playoffs or they can make the playoffs?
The Seahawks,
Yes.
I think they will. I
See,
think they will.
I think they have a puncher's chance to make the playoffs, but I would not bet a single American cent or Mexican peso on them making the playoffs. I just wouldn't. I don't see it.
I think they got a great chance. I would need to see to officially make that bet. I would, like, if I had to make the bet, gun in my head, I'd bet them to make the playoffs. But I would like to see it in the regular season before I officially say that. But I'm almost pretty sure that's where I lean because one, I don't think
Almost, wait, almost pretty sure.
yeah, almost pretty sure that about sums it up. I'm a little scared, but I'll say this: I like that schedule, man. I like the schedule, so that gives me a lot of confidence. I don't think they need a ton. I think their schedule last year was much harder than their schedule this year, and they still won 10 games.
But
And
we don't know
and
which teams are going to be good though. We
their
don't know
offense
which
is good.
we don't know which teams are going to be good. You know, someone's going to come out of the woodworks and be good this year that we didn't
Maybe, yeah.
expect. I don't
It
know.
it could be the Seahawks. I mean, yeah, there's probably a team we're not expecting to be better than what they are, but or that what
Yeah,
everybody sees them as. I would argue that Seattle's that team because nobody thinks squat.
yes, no, for
Like
sure.
Seattle.
Seattle could be a surprise,
Yeah.
but you got a lot of faith in Sam Darnold.
No, I just have a faith in an offensive
You
floor
no,
that this team.
you hitched your wagon to Sam Darnold.
No, I've hitched my wagon to Clint Kubiak, and I think that's been obvious from the beginning. I've been a believer in what he can do for this scheme, what he can do for this offensive line, and what he can do just the floor. I'm not expecting fireworks. I've never expected fireworks, but I've argued from the very beginning since they hired the man that just by having that floor as an offense mixed with how explosive this defense and dominant this defense is
Yep,
expected to be, you don't need much from
yep.
your offense. You just need them to literally not be a
You
disaster.
need competence. You
That's
need
all you
competence.
need.
Uh-huh.
And given that in mind, with what I think is an easy schedule, it doesn't take much to make the playoffs, in my opinion, in the NFC.
What'll be interesting is the adjustments that he makes and the adjustments that this offense makes, right? Because
Yeah, for
will
sure.
they be able to run the ball the first couple of weeks? I think so, right? It's going to be a different looking offense, and I think they're going to be able to run the ball. And then eventually, as we talked about, you're going to see an eighth guy in the box. You might see a
Mhm.
ninth guy in the box. They're going to say, who's going to beat us deep, right? They're going to dare Sam Darnold to pass deep. What
Yep.
adjustments, if we're talking about scheme, what adjustments will Kubiak make with his scheme to be able to, to get deep and loosen up that defense so that we can run the ball again. That's going to be what's interesting to me. I think that's where he's going to earn his keep is with his adjustments, not necessarily how the scheme is going to play out the gate. I don't think they're talented enough on offense. I just don't think they have enough um, firepower, and I don't think they have enough depth at certain positions to be able to win double digit games. I just don't see it.
Yeah, I think with the schedule they can. If they had last year's schedule, I wouldn't. And I'm saying this to your question about can Clint Kubiak adjust? I think when he was with the Saints, he was more willing to throw it deep than even a Kyle Shanahan has been,
Sure.
right? And so I think the biggest question that is personnel. To your point, and MVS did well in those moments when they got later in the season and MVS was actually healthy. He was able to make a difference enough. It wasn't anything gigantic, but it was just enough that the offense could continue to flow without running into those stacked boxes issues and not being able to function. Right? I mean, injury was their biggest issue, not like anything else. Just
I
straight
keep
luck.
when I think of MVS, I think of him being wide open and Aaron Rodgers hitting him in stride and him dropping the ball.
He
That's all
might
I
do
can
that at
see.
least 4 times and it'll piss us all off.
That's
I'm
all I can
right.
think of.
It'll piss us all off. I'm no question about that. But I also think he can do enough to be the answer for that. And that's why I would say I'm nervous to get rid of him, right? I think it would I think I completely get the argument for getting rid of him, and I'm not gonna be mad if they do. But I would
Right.
just be nervous for that when it's time to adjust, and when you need the personnel to be able to. I would
Mm,
like to say there's at least one dude who I know, in theory, on paper, can answer this problem. Right? It's literally all he does. But I would like to say there's one person on the roster that can answer that problem. And I think in the NFC, which is pretty wide open outside of the Eagles, honestly,
mhm.
the NFC is not anything of a it's anybody's game, right? Anybody can do well or not do well. There's question
Right.
marks, in my opinion, in the entire conference. And so, in a landscape like that, yeah, I think they can make the playoffs. It's 7 spots now. It's not even like I'm not saying it's not hard, but I think you've got the foundation. Your defense is shown they can be dominant. Your offense has a floor, which is literally all it needs. Because that offense was a disaster last year. And even then, as bad as that offense was last year, you had a terrorist as an offensive coordinator. And they almost made the playoffs one game away with their Rams game. And it took 1,000 things to go wrong for
Mhm.
them not to make the playoffs.
Right.
So, I mean,
We also
there's
had we also had Geno Smith.
yeah, Geno Smith. I I don't think Sam Darnold is so significant of a downgrade with much easier circumstances. If Geno Smith had this offensive line play, even in the preseason game, like I just yeah, I think I would be talking about Super Bowl contender if we had Geno Smith. That's the difference, in my opinion,
I think,
between whether they can win a playoff game. I don't think they can win a playoff game necessarily,
I
but
think
I think
Geno
they can make
Geno Smith and more and a more talented receiving core, or if they
yeah.
were willing to deal, say it was Geno Smith and they dealt a one to Washington for Terry McLaurin or something like that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think this would be a Super Bowl
Most
team.
definitely.
I do think that's the difference between he and Darnold is I don't see Darnold, unless it's in like a Jimmy G type capacity, or like I said, a Trent Dilfer type capacity. I don't see him leading the Seahawks to the Super Bowl. I don't know. Like I said, I hope, I sincerely hope that I'm wrong and that you're right, because there's nothing better than rooting for your team when your team is on fire, right? Where your team is going on a run. Like that's the best. That's why we root for the Seahawks. It's why I root for the Mariners, right? It's the best feeling. I just don't. My gut says, my eyes say that's not what this team will be this year. I do think that they will create a tremendous amount of positive momentum, and depending on the few moves that they will make heading into 26, I think that team now has the potential to go deep into the playoffs, depending on what they do at quarterback. I just don't think. I don't think this year is the year.
Question.
Yeah.
Is it possible to walk away with positive momentum given they already won 10 games last year? And like,
No,
unless they actually progress from that, how would
no.
that
I think
positive
I
momentum?
think the change of quarterback. I think there's such a shift in who this team is that there's some. I think on defense there's carryover, right? There's continuity. I think the offense is just a to be determined. I don't think that Zabel may very well be the best offensive lineman on this team by the end of the year. He might be that by the middle of the year, right? Cooper Cup is there, not DK Metcalf. Totally different type of player.
Mhm.
Fant is gone. You've got Barner starting at tight end now, and you've got Arroyo playing. Two different, very different players, both very, very young, right? You've got a different scheme for K9, which I think will show up a bit. And obviously, you have Sam Darnold at quarterback and not Geno Smith. So defensively, yes, I think defensively that 10-win team, and the defense was the primary reason why that team was a 10-win team. That defense coming back in the same form, yes, 100%. I think that is a very good point. The offense is just different, different coordinator, different scheme, different everything.
Yeah,
Some of
I
the
think
same
that
names.
I would argue that's a good thing.
It's yet to be seen. I hope so. I hope so. I'm excited. I hope so, but I don't know that we can say that for sure. Not yet.
Can I? Can I just want to look ahead real quick because you keep
Yep.
talking about the year after next. I don't think that this defense is going to be as good next year. I think they're going to lose people. They're going to have to start paying people. They got to make some decisions.
They'll
I
lose
think
people. They'll lose
there's a
people,
part.
but I don't know that they'll lose. What will they lose when they lose those particular people, though? Right? I think edge is the one position where they've got to figure some stuff out.
In corner, if they're going to pay Reek or not, I don't know that they will.
I don't know that they will either. I don't know that I reserve the right to judge that towards the end of this season because I'm sure that what they hope is that one of Job or Pritchett develops to a place where they can be that other corner across from Witherspoon, right?
Which I would say,
That way you don't have to pay. That way you don't have to pay Reek.
I'd say
That's my
either way, that's a downgrade.
slight. I think Reek has been super inconsistent. As much as I loved his rookie year, he's been so inconsistent. I think if you got consistent play without the peak of Woolen, I think you would get the same results, right? If you got someone who's consistent and didn't go hot and cold, I think you would get similar performance. Reek has some really really great games and he has some bad games.
I think
Um,
I've always thought Pritchard is a worse version of Reek, so I don't think
he might
you
be, but that's why I'm saying you give him another year of development, right? He was a rookie last year. Let's see what he does in this second year. Let's see if he's progressed. If he hasn't, and Job is nothing but a nickel, then yeah, you might have to pay up with Reek and you might have to let someone else go. It's probably something like Reek or Mafe, right? Is kind of what we're looking at.
yeah, for
And
sure.
you have to, I think they'll have to choose between the two.
Yeah, I for sure because you got to pay Devin Witherspoon coming up then too. So that's why I say I think there's a chance that this defense it might be the best it gets. 2
It
years
might
from
be.
now, Leo Williams isn't the same
It
as
might
Leo
be,
Williams.
but Byron Murphy the second, in theory, is close to an All Pro, right?
I don't think that
One
we're
would
there.
hope. No, but that's who he was drafted to be, right? One would hope that you still get a decent performance from Lawrence, right? That Lawrence isn't washed by next year. You would hope that Derek Hall in a contract year goes off. See, but they have to plan for these things. They have to hope for some of that to happen. I think the defense may look a little bit different. There might be some of the characters that are a little bit different, but I still think the defense is going to be. I think as long as you've got Witherspoon and Jones, as long as you have those linchpins at each level, I think McDonald makes this into a top 10 defense.
I think it'll be a very good defense. I'm not saying the defense will fall off a cliff, but I'm saying I think it's easier to let's say mid-season. They're looking good. They begin to struggle mid-season with the whole, you know, like people just not been like just not having the ability and the personnel that they need to be deep like a deep threat down the field, right?
Right.
I think you can fix that at the trade deadline,
Sure.
and I think you can become a playoff team. So I would bet on the chances of that much in capitalizing on what might be the best version of your defense right now, based on the decisions you have to make with your upcoming young core. I think that's easier to do now than it is later when you might have some
Yeah.
pretty key things on defense that change
The offense isn't
and
the offense
more
isn't a
question
deep threat
marks.
away. I just disagree. The offense isn't a deep threat away from being a Super Bowl contending offense.
I
I
didn't
think
say Super Bowl. I just said make the playoff, man.
okay. Well, I still don't think that either. I think the jury's out on Sam Darnold, and I think that this, without huge weapons around him and the line, let me see 4, 5, 6 games from this line of blowing some holes open in this running game, playing well. Let me see 100-yard rusher a couple times, right? Before I can say that this offense is ready to roll. I think the offense falls on its face a little bit this year.
I don't get the point of predictions if you got to see it first.
I'm just predicting it's going to fall on its face a little bit. If I see it for 4, 6 games, and I'll say, you know what, maybe I was wrong.
Yeah,
I'm willing. You know me, I'm willing to say that.
yeah. All
But
right. I would bet that they are far more likely to make the playoffs than to miss it.
what we betting?
I don't know. I bet $20. I'm not a
Let's
big
let's
better.
so
I don't.
someone
I vote.
Jason
I vote. Whenever I'm betting, I'll put like $3 on something on DraftKings. Like I don't. Like I don't. I bet just to say I'm right, not because I actually
Jason
enjoy
Hoff
gambling.
or any other regular listener, let us know what we should bet. I'm saying They don't make the playoffs. Candace is saying they make the playoffs. Is that the
Yep,
bet? All
that
right.
is the
So
bet.
someone, like I said, Hoff, whoever, let us know what we should be betting on this. I don't like taking the under. I don't like being the Debbie Downer, but I don't see it. Not
I don't
yet.
get. I mean, again, I'm not saying this because I made the preseason. We made our predictions a long. I mean, because of the
We did.
preseason, we made our predictions a long time ago. To
We did.
me,
We
the
did.
preseason has only confirmed what I thought could be the most optimistic version of this team. Now, was it scared of Sam Darnold? Absolutely, but I think I've seen enough from Kubiak to feel like he won't be a liability. I think he'll have some bad moments. I think, but Gino had bad moments. Gino had moments that we lost games because of him. So
Because of him or was it because of DK last year?
there are some games that it was completely on Gino.
But
I would say the Rams
Gino
game
was set up to
for the
fail.
49ers game.
He was set up.
There is a game with
He was set
completely
up
on.
to fail. He was set up to fail.
I think Gino would take a little bit more ownership than that of him, and he did actually in the post game press conference and said it's completely on him.
That's
Now,
because they paid to say that, though.
yeah, they are, but you could also see it on film. Some of those things, Gino just had some wild. Why would you throw that moments?
Yes, brain farts. Yeah,
I think we forget. Like it wasn't all on DK. DK is responsible for at least three
but
interceptions. I
okay.
agree.
But I'll say this: Gino's never been the butt of multiple national jokes and memes because of his quarterback play.
Yes, he has.
Not like Sam Darnold.
Yes, he has.
Not like Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold got the one with the graphic on it. You know what I'm saying?
He
That's
doesn't
like
have a
everywhere, all the
Gino.
time. And
Gino
like,
doesn't
but
have a
on multiple
famous.
teams, it was that way with him.
He was only because of the generation that Sam grew up in more so than Gino. Gino's just
Man, he ain't,
older,
it's
so
not,
there weren't memes.
Gino's not 48 years old.
There, no, there weren't memes, man. Of they weren't doing memes when Gino got punched in the jaw. All right, like that wasn't a thing. If there were memes when Gino got punched in the jaw, I guarantee you there would be like millions of them that
All right,
would
it's
still be
different
used
getting punched
today.
in the jaw and just being a terrible quarterback, though. Those are
He
two
was
different
both.
things. Those are
He was
no,
bold,
those are
and he
two
was
different
considered a
things.
joke because of that. In fact, the over under when the decision was made to start Geno Smith was at 4.5 games, dude. Like Geno was considered a joke. He was considered a joke, way more so even than Sam Darnold because Sam Darnold didn't. I mean,
But
Geno at the
Gino
time
wasn't picked. I'm sorry,
he wasn't even a starter at the time.
I remember he came out of West Virginia. He was potentially a number one pick. He fell off. He went in the second round. He played for the Giants. He played for the Jets. I remember.
He was a
Nobody gave
joke.
him a chance, but they miscast him. Everybody saw a black quarterback and thought he was going to be this athletic quarterback. And really, what he is he has an incredible processing mind and an accurate arm. He was like the stereotype of the white quarterback, white pocket quarterback in a black dude's body. Am I wrong? Like that's. I just think that's what they saw. Now
I think that's what Geno grew into. I don't
he
think
could
he came
run.
out like that.
No, he didn't. He could run, and that's what they had him doing at West Virginia. But
Yeah,
what I'm saying is he developed into something different. I just Darnold has not been the one time we saw Darnold be very good. I won't say great, but very good. Like I said, he had a very good offensive line. Justin Jefferson, T.J. Hawkinson, Jordan Addison, Aaron Jones. Like he had stars around him. He doesn't have stars in Cooper Cup and JSN. I love JSN, but JSN's a possession receiver.
but that doesn't mean he's not a star. I
No,
might push back on that.
I don't
I
think
might
he's a
push back on that.
star. I think he's a great number two on a Super Bowl team.
We'll see. I mean, this is
I think he's
certainly his year to cement that. I
I
think
think
he's
he's
shown himself.
an above average number two receiver that can put up 100 catches and 1,000 yards, but is not a superstar. That's what I think JSN is.
Well, he's not a superstar. I think he's more of a star. But I'll say this: if Sam Darnold can be very good under those good circumstances, then all right, he can be okay to like maybe good here. If he can be great with those great circumstances, then in decent to good circumstances, I believe he can be decent to good.
He's gonna be
He's
so
just
average. He's gonna be so average this
I
year.
don't think if he's
Average.
average, then fine.
That's not a playoff team with an average Sam Darnold.
It is with that defense.
Not with his offense though.
It is with the defense. You don't. Gino was average. Gino was average last year. He had a down year. It was one of his worst years as a starter in recent times.
Nah,
Gino was average.
I think he was better than a little better than average.
his production would say that that's not the case. If you ranked him with everybody else, which you can, he
Okay.
is average. He was
If you
average.
looked
He was
at
an
what he
average
did, if
NFL.
you looked at what he did with what he had,
Yeah,
I think he was better than average.
and I would say that the circumstances around Darnold have improved from the circumstances that were around Geno
That's
last year.
yet to be seen.
I would say that's clear just by coaching alone.
Cooper Cup and MVS.
On coaching alone, I would say it's
Cooper
clear.
Cup and
Cooper
MVS
Cup and
is not
JSN.
good. Not good.
Cooper Cup and JSN, not
No, I'm
MVS.
saying JSN is a constant though. You replaced Lockett and Metcalf with Cup and MVS.
MVS may not even make this roster. We'll
And
see.
I hope not. But I'm
Yeah.
just saying, like,
But you're saying MVS like he's the headliner. They're not banking on him to be a
if he's
headliner.
a starter, he's one of those. If he's a starter, he's replacing Lockett or Metcalf.
He's not a starter. Torrey Horton is clearly taking his place in training camp.
You watch.
Torrey Horton is the number 3.
Torrey
That's
Horton.
been reported by
Horton's hurt.
everyone.
Torrey Horton got hurt last week.
That's almost
He was
my
also
that's my concern.
out for a full year last year, right? Like,
I understand that too. But I'm saying, I mean, it's not like MVS. If he gets upgraded in the depth chart because somebody's hurt, that's different than us depending on him to be, wide
I
receiver
hope.
3.
Look, if Horton is healthy, I love what I saw. He's an upgrade over Lockett for sure. To me,
Yeah,
immediately,
I would
just
agree.
because of his youth and his size, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just
I think you're just in a pessimistic mindset, and that's okay. It's all right. I think you overestimate how much it's going to take in a wide open NFC to break through. It's not like you don't need that much. I don't think that the
this
Seahawks are
was
set
the
to be
worst
superstars,
offensive line in football.
and it won't be this year.
That's not a hard thing.
They're not playing like that in the
They got
preseason.
what 31 other places that they could be to not be the worst in football. Like it's not
That
hard to
hasn't that hasn't stopped them the past 5 years either. That hasn't stopped them from being that the past 5 years. Look, all I'm saying is that we've never seen the offensive line preseason or not, training camp or not. It hasn't mattered. No one has ever said in the past, I want to say nobody in the past 10 years has said, wow, what a dominant performance from the offensive line. Literally ever. Like that's never happened. All right. So I don't think they go from
Walter
having the
Jones,
worst
Walter Jones and Steve Hutchinson, right?
instead of the past 10 years.
Okay.
10 years. 10
Yes.
years.
Past 10
10
years,
years.
yes.
Yes. No, well, I mean, yes, of course. They definitely had their elite times. I'm just saying in recent years, in this past decade, right?
Yeah.
No one said that, whether it's preseason, training camp, or anything else. It's been a disaster everywhere. We watched preseason games and we're like,
Yes.
oh.
Yes. No, I'm with you on that.
So if they, I'm not saying they'll be that dominant. In fact, I don't think they will be. I don't think you go from looking that good in the preseason to, unless you have catastrophic injuries,
Injuries, yeah.
being bottom 5. Think they can be better than bottom 5 based on
Well,
what we saw.
we know the right tackle is going to get injured within 4 games for sure. So
But he's played in the preseason, so that ought to tell you something.
he's
He's
playing
playing more than K9.
he's playing in the preseason because they want to just see him on the field for a little bit.
Well, yeah, but also I
Or
think
sorry,
I
for
think
once. For once is what I meant to say.
I think that, for one, I have always felt personally, at least when it comes to more NBA, that the callus that you build by just having those reps
Sure.
helps you stay healthier throughout the year. And Abe has not missed a training camp practice or a preseason game. I think there's encouragement in that. Now, I mean, anybody can get hurt. It's football.
We got another bet
Injury,
coming
whatever.
or what? We doing another Abe Lucas bet?
You only the Seahawks screwed me on that last big man. They screwed me. Said his stomach hurt and sat him.
You know
I
what that
definitely
means?
should have
You
won
know
that
what
bet.
that means? You soft. You're not out thinking he had a tummy ache. Talking about I can't play.
They said the man's stomach hurt. They just didn't want to play him anymore. They wanted him on
Yeah,
ice.
I'll just be like,
And
go
the
do it on the
Seahawks
go,
screwed
just
me.
do it on the field. We need you out there. We don't care. We got plenty of pants in the back.
They said they knew somehow they caught wind that Candace Higgins made a bet with Tino that Abe would
I
play
pay
at
him
least 8
off.
games.
I
And
pay him
on
off.
game 8, they said, yeah, no, sit the guy.
That's
I'm
funny.
telling you, that's
That's
what
funny.
happened, man. They screwed me.
No, I am excited though. I guess my time frame looks different. I think they're headed in the right direction. I did not come into this podcast thinking I was going to be the wet blanket. I really didn't. I was excited,
Great.
right? Listen to the tone at the beginning. I am excited. I need more over a longer period of time, and when the bullets are real, right? What I need to see to be confident. And I don't know that I'll ever be confident in Sam Darnold. To be honest with you, I just don't.
I think that's fair to say. That's fair to
I
say.
just there's a lot of film saying that he's not that dude. So
I just think I think quarterbacks can evolve enough. I
yo,
think there's a
yeah,
drastic difference. I think quarterbacks can evolve, and I think it's fair to
absolutely.
say the Jets have screwed over many
Yes,
a quarterback careers.
yes, yes.
So, am
I
I
don't.
willing?
You could make the argument Zach Wilson's probably a decent NFL quarterback. They just screwed
Probably,
with him, right?
probably.
I think you're right, and there's a reason why people keep taking chances on Sam Darnold. There's a reason why he keeps getting contracts. I get that. I just
I
don't know
think
that he's really good.
I think he was. I don't know if he's really good. I think he's good. I think he learned how to begin to be a quarterback with the 49ers. I think he's only made steady progress since. And I don't think he'll be nearly as great as he was last season. He'll certainly have a regression, no question about that. But do I think he now has a floor that didn't exist before? I do. I think he can avoid being a total disaster on a consistent basis. I think he'll have disaster moments because he's Sam Darnold. And I also think Gino had disaster moments, and so it just kind of breaks him. Not even. I think Gino's still more talented, but I also just think you need less because again, competence matters.
Just just
Having a
block. If you can
functional
block,
NFL offense matters, man.
just block and run the ball, and everything else will fall into place. And it's not
Exactly.
just the Seahawks; it's every other team. If you can play defense and you can run block and you can run the ball, you can run play action and scheme guys open that you and I can throw to with
That's
a
what I mean.
good running game. Which is why I go back to show me, you know, consecutive weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, whatever that might be, of this offensive line blocking well in the regular season, and I will change my tune. But until we get to that point, it's going to be hard for me to get behind this being a playoff team. It just is.
Yep, that sucks, man. It's basically you got to see it to believe it. But by the time you see it, it'll be too
Not
late.
always. Not always. Don't look at my fantasy baseball team. It's full of young players that I way too many guys that I'm excited about. Right. I love rookies. I love the draft. But with these particular guys, with this particular line, with this particular quarterback, I want to see it.
Yeah, we'll see. I think ultimately, I think we will. I think week one is a big deal. So
Mhm.
I actually like the fact that first that made me nervous, right? When looking at the 49ers matchup, like
Mhm.
that's tough. I'm not saying it's not gonna be a tough game, but I'm saying if we both believe that they can be able to run the ball pretty dominantly, at least for weeks 1 and 2, I think that's a swing in their favor. Because it's a
Yeah.
home game. They've been playing well at home. Seem to be which is nice to see, by the way, actually. So, this team stunk at home,
Mhm.
so even though it's preseason, a nice precedent to set, I would believe,
Right.
in terms of being more dominant at home and having that crowd noise matter, especially with the style that this team is going to play. I think it could be a real swing factor. So
That week one's gonna be lit.
yeah, for
That
sure.
week one is gonna be lit.
And the
Because
49ers are
especially if
in
this
it.
team keeps blocking and running the ball the way that they are going into week one, people gonna be drinking that Candace Hagen's Kool-Aid. They're gonna be doing the same thing you are ready for that week one. What? You
Well,
watch.
I think preseason 3 will be a pretty tough watch, probably because
Mhm.
they'll be trying to make end of the roster decisions for sure. So I don't expect to see much hype coming out of that game, but there should be, like you said, leading into week 1. I think you've seen enough so far
Mhm.
to be excited, and frankly, I think the Seahawks can take it. 49ers are kind of limping into the season. I think to start they can take that win, and I think that goes really far in setting them up for the rest of the season.
Yep.
If you could win
Well,
that game,
Niners,
then
Niners are licking their wounds a little bit
yeah,
still, right? Ayuk and some of the other stuff going on, not having Samuel there. Pearsall is supposed to carry the load. They got a bunch of big young bodies on in the trenches, but what's the name going down? Their guard that they
yeah,
drafted. So yeah, I think
Le'Veon
they got
Bell.
yeah, I think they've got some issues. I think that is going to be a huge game. I think you're right. I've I'll close with this. I've never been. I love roster construction, whatever sport it is. I think it's interesting. It's fascinating to me. Baseball, football, basketball. I don't think I've ever been this anticipatory of a Seahawks cut down as I am with this one. I think part of it is because there are players that are on the bubble that could be a big part of this team's future, right? We talked about Martinez. You've got linemen. I think that some of the linemen that they drafted, Richmond and Cabaldue, I think they have a future in the NFL, right? One of those guys could be a starting guard for the Hawks at some point in time, and they might both get cut. Especially Cabaldue, they can play. And Richmond's been taking reps with the twos over Laumea.
Hmm.
Um, we've got, I think, one of the big tackles, Peely or Bohanna. I think either one of those guys you could see start in the NFL. If they were to cut, I think Jarek Reed is an NFL player, right? I just think there are players on this team that are specifically on offense that could be starters for this team down the road who
Yeah,
might.
Bahana's
What's that?
already started games, right? Bahana, he already started games. I think
Yeah,
if
but
Dallas
that's because
haven't.
everybody hurt. That
Yeah.
wasn't like a huge thing. But like I said, I think that the guards specifically, I think Ricky White has shown flashes at wide receiver. We haven't really talked about him. I could see him as a future NFL player, but specifically at running back, I think it's a big decision. So I'm super excited about when they come out with the 53, what their decisions are, and anticipating their arguments as to why they made the decisions that they do.
Yeah. No, for sure. For sure. All right. Well, I think that wraps us up. I think I like our next. We should definitely do like a bold take, um, thing. We
Okay.
should do some predictions. We should do a predictions show. I think
Okay.
that'd be cool. Yep.
All right.
All right, man. Tino, tell the people where they can find you. We'll get us on out of here.
Tino Junior 20 at Blue Sky. You can find me there. Baseball, football. I did do. I think you saw some live tweeting, at least for the first half, with a lot of the starters on our Seahawks 360 Blue Sky account. That was a lot of fun. Quite a few interactions, which I appreciate. But yeah, it was fun. Can't wait. This season is, like I said, I hope I'm wrong. I hope that you get to come at me again saying, you know what, yet another prediction was wrong. I hope so, because I'm a Hawks fan.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll definitely be more on with the live tweeting. So be sure to find us on Blue Sky at Seahawks 360. You can find us on X at Seahawks 360 Pod. I'm doing live tweeting over there. Tino's live tweeting on Blue Sky. So we try to cover our bases across the social media platforms, whatever your preference is. In the meantime, that's all the time we have for today. That's it. We're out. And as always,
Go Hawks.
go Hawks.